new features, new capabilities, and all in a new, more easily accessible UI. So what do we mean by easily accessible UI? What we're talking about there is what Jose mentioned, that with this new version, it's what we call browser independent. So that means that in the past, you would have had to have logged into Internet Explorer in order to connect to the RDP session to open the StreetSaver app. Well, as you can see here, I'm in Chrome. So I'm using StreetSaver outside of Internet Explorer, and that means by virtue of it being browser independent, it's not just accessible from any browser, it becomes accessible from any device or any operating system that has an internet browser, an internet connection. So that's just a tremendous leap forward in terms of what you're able to access, how you're able to access StreetSaver. That means even down to iPads, phone screens, and that sort of thing. You'll notice as we go through the app that the layout is designed in such a way that you'll be able to use touchscreen, and the UI is able to fit and format itself to smaller screen sizes. So the last thing that I want to go over with the new web app, or what is different about the new web app, is that it's going to be a new login approach. So what we're talking about there is now when you log in, you're going to be using your own personal email address and your own personal password. And what that means is that to use this new version, your team will be what we're calling, will have to migrate to the web app. And what do we mean by that? What do we mean by migrating your team to the web app? Basically, that means that instead of having one shared login for the team, everyone will create their own password and use their own email address to log in. So that's much more convenient, and you'll be able to manage your own password, which is excellent. So for the sake of time, I'm going to do an overview of that process, but I wanted to point out that we do have, I'm going to show you a document here. You should be seeing a PDF on your screen, and that is the migrating your team's logins to the new web app. And so this is going to be a detailed step-by-step guide, and then there's also a video link at the bottom. This gives you a detailed example and demonstration of the process of setting your team up to use the new web app. And definitely get that from the downloads, and as Jose mentioned, it'll be in your follow-up email as well. So I want to show a couple of things here. Once you log in, you come to the landing page, and here in Chrome, you'll notice that I've got a connection panel to the web app with a green connect button. To the right, I've got another panel that just says StreetSaver web app, but it says if you wish to use the StreetSaver legacy app, please log in using Internet Explorer. So let me bring up Internet Explorer and show you what that looks like. Okay, so here we see, let me go ahead and minimize Chrome so let's make sure you guys can see this. Now that I'm in Internet Explorer, you see I've got two connect options. I can get into the StreetSaver web app on the left, or I can get into the StreetSaver app through remote desktop on the right. So when I'm in Internet Explorer, I can still access the legacy app. And that's important for a few reasons that we'll discuss later on in the webinar. But I wanted you to be able to see for right off the bat that even with migrating to the web app and using your own email to log in, on the landing page, you'll have the ability to go to the new version or the old version for the time being. So that's a great feature. So let me go ahead and move back to Chrome. Okay, so once I've logged in, I hit connect, and that's going to load the database for me. And now let's talk a little bit about what setting your team up in the web app would look like. The first person that gets migrated to the web app is the primary contact person on the account, the administrator on the account. Once that happens, that person is going to be the only person that can log into StreetSaver until the rest of your team is registered. So let's take a quick look at what that would look like. So here I am, I'm the administrator on this particular database, and I've logged in for the first time, and now I need to set up my team. So if I go to System Administration in the left over here, and I go down to View Users, I can see that I've got myself and another team member set up already. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like to get another team member migrated over to the web app. What I would do here is put in their display name and then their email address. I'm just doing a dummy email address here. I'm going to go ahead and check this box because I want their name to show up in the grids in case they made changes so that I'll know about it. You can leave the active checkbox unchecked because when they register, they'll become active. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And after I hit save, now I've got two grids down here for the screen rights, and then I've got a grid for the graph rights and reports. So I'm going to just bulk update these so I don't go through each screen. This is a great shortcut. I'm going to set everything to delete rights. And then if I wanted to fine tune it, I could go screen by screen on a few screens and limit the rights or elevate the rights if needed. I'm going to do the same thing for reports and graphs. This is a little bit simpler. It's all read-only data, so it's just can I access it or not. So I'm going to set rights to access. And now I have a user profile for my team member set up. So I can send an invite to them to register from here, or I'm not going to do that because I want to show you something out here on the View Users grid. So here I have a display of my team. I've got myself and I've got two team members set up. I've already accepted and am registered. I have team member set up here, and I've sent the invite, and I can see the status where I sent the invite today. They have not registered and accepted yet. And then for my third team member, I can see that no invite has been sent, and I can also send it from here. This gives you a little brief description of what sending the invite means, and the team member will receive an email that they'll click on, and then they'll be able to define their own password and submit it, and then confirm their email address, and then they'll be able to log in. And when they log in, they will have the rights that you defined for them here on the View Users screen. Okay, so that is basically just a quick overview of setting up a team member. And again, I want to reiterate, please get that walkthrough guide and watch the video. It does a few more things showing you the registration screen and etc. I just, for the sake of time, because we want to have plenty of time to tour the rest of the web app, I want to make sure that you get all the information you need. So definitely get that document. So I'm going to pause here for just a second. We're going to do this a few times through the webinar where we can ask a poll question. And before we get into the full tour of the web app, I want to hand it back over to Jose for that poll question.
So thank you so much, Jason. So on here, if you can move it over to me and give me the presentation rights, it looks like that's what we need in order for that poll to show up. And you guys, you know that I love polls, so it's gonna. I'm always gonna try to do these during our webinars. It's a great way for us to get to know you guys, to get to see what you guys are up to, what we can show you guys, and what's interesting to you. You know, these webinars help us get more information on you, so we can do better by you guys. We can develop more systems that you guys use more often. So I'm always going to try to do these polls for you guys. And currently we are planning on doing another webinar on the web app update. So that's going to be coming up on, looks like November 16th. So we will cover this again, but I wanted to get a kind of a gauge on other topics you guys might be interested in. So this is the reason for this one. We are planning on doing more webinars like the one touring the web app, but we want to know other topics that you guys might be interested in. So we have GIS functionalities, decision tree overview, which is something I hear about a lot, updating your StreetSaver data via StreetSaver Cloud services. So that's a nice little preview for a service that's coming up. Consultant or agency case studies, as well as reporting or custom reporting. So please take a time to go ahead and answer those poll questions. I will be submitting the results to everybody in the follow-up email. So thank you guys so much for participating.
Great. If you want to, when you're done, Jose, just hand me back presenter and I'll continue.
All right, so it looks like it just finished. So Sui, if you don't mind making Jason presenter there. It looks like Sui is going to be the host of this meeting today.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to bring up the web app here again, and we will jump in. I did take a chance there of looking at some of the questions. Those are some good questions. We'll be sure to get them all covered at the end of the webinar. So as I mentioned, we've really worked to preserve the functionality that you depend on while adding some exciting new features. So what I'm going to do is I'm mainly going to focus on giving you a sneak peek of the UI and highlighting some of those new features and navigation options. That way, you know, because you'll see as we go through this that there's a lot of similarity in terms of the layout and the organizational structure. So there's some familiarity as you start using the new app. With the old, in comparison to the old one. To start off, you see over here on the left, we've got our navigation menu, and we've maintained the same organizational structure of those modules. So, for example, you know, pavement sections and all the same screens that you're used to are located under these same categories. That way, when you get into the new web app, it'll be pretty easy to be able to find what you're looking for and get to some of those same screens, go-to screens that you've used the most. So what we see here is the executive summary, and it has obviously it has a new look, but it's still communicating the same data with a couple of new features that I want to point out. Of course, we have our historical pavement condition trends that's given us a picture of the last 5 years up to current PCI of today. And we have our current PCI by functional class graph. So here's one of the places we see some new functionality. There's a drop down on this graph that lets you pick between area ID, surface type, or the default functional class. So if I wanted to get a quick look at current PCI by surface type, I can just update that. And now I have my current PCI according to my surface types. Looks like my PCC is really struggling here. So, and you can, of course, easily switch back. That same functionality is available down here on the percent of area by surface type, functional class, or area ID. And of course, you can pop down the legend to see the specifics if you want to, or mouse over. So that's just a way that you can kind of customize what you see here and then toggle back and forth accordingly. Some additional features, you notice that we have the same current PCI gauge and remaining service life gauge. These are network averages, and you're able to toggle them. If you say you don't want those and you want to have the graphs be the focus, you can, using the little options pop-out, you can come in here and I can hide the PCI graph if I want to, hide the service life graph, or I can bring them back. You'll notice some other options here, so you can refresh the summary if you want to get recalculate the current PCI for the day, or you want to refresh the historical data. You can do that, and you can get all of this this dashboard out as an image, a PDF, or print it. That's just a quick kind of overview of the dashboard. It is the same information packaged in a new way with some higher customizability. I am going to give you a small sneak peek of some new development that we're doing that's going to be in the web app. It's not released yet. I'm just giving you a little heads up. We're working on a second dashboard called KPI, or Key Performance Indicators. So key performance indicators are going to be some new next generation performance measures that are going to help as far as giving you some more relevant information for decision makers. We'll probably be doing just a webinar or in various trainings just on this to explain what each of these new graphs mean and the formulas behind them. It's very exciting, and this will be something that will be coming out in the coming months via the web app. So again, that's key performance indicators, and you can toggle back and forth between the two. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep moving forward, and I'm just going to kind of go through the various modules where we have some new stuff to show you and some new navigation options. So I'm going to start with pavement sections. And pavement sections, of course, the go-to screen here is often view sections. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And what we have here is the grid like you're used to, but you'll notice that we have some different layout. In the old app, we used to have our events history, and we had inspection history, pending inspections, and so forth along the bottom. And we wanted to enhance that a little bit. So what we did is, of course, you can pick your sections that you want. Let's go ahead and focus on the top here on a Del 10. And when I have this selected, I can open the toggle for the section summary. And this gives me vital stats right away on the section. You can see that I have the deterioration curve. This gives me a picture of inspections and any treatments, and shows me the adjusted deterioration curve as compared to the family curve. Now, you'll remember in the legacy app, in order to get to the deterioration curve, you had to either click on it over here in the nav menu, which you can see I'm highlighting on the left, or you could have right-clicked and gone to the deterioration curve. But the point is you had to go to a different screen in order to see it, and then you had to go back. So I just switched and clicked over here on Aurora, and it updated for me. So now I have the vital stats for Aurora 10. And you have these tabs across the top, so you can get a quick snapshot of the section info, if there's any pending inspections, inspection history, events history, any pending M&R history, and then projected treatments from the last needs run. So right off from a click of the button on the grid here, you can get all of this information. You'll notice too that we have a new interactive map on the bottom. And this allows you to see where the road you're on is in relation to the overall road network in map form. So you can see it's very responsive. You can zoom in and out very fast. And if you wanted to look at roads in the general area, this is selectable. So I'm on Aurora Drive right now, but I can jump over, say, to Emerald Drive, and that's going to update for me. And now I have Emerald Drive with its deterioration curve and all of its stats. So it's a great way to be able to look at everything about the section right off the bat. And then, of course, if I wanted to, I can click on the grid here and go between my sections accordingly and see that information. So what this does is it takes what view sections was in the legacy app, and it kind of takes it to another level, because now not only can I see the inspection and M&R and events, but I also get the deterioration curve. I also get the map, so I'm able to really see more information quickly about each section. I will add that you can go from here and you can actually see this information on a full page view, and that takes you to the section summary page for the selected section, and it changes the layout a little bit, and it has all the same information. So you can also print the report, and the report will actually get that map and the deterioration curve and include that in the report now. So the section summary report is updated as well. You'll remember in the legacy app, that's all the section summary was. The section summary was just a PDF report of the data. Well, now in the web app, the section summary is almost like a mini dashboard for each section. And if I want, I can go through in a row, click next or previous. I can search, and jump to a particular road that I might want to look at. And again, the map stays interactive, and I can jump around from road to road by selecting on the map as well. And you'll see this as a consistent theme in the web app. What we've been working to do as a new and exciting feature is to make it more GIS-centric, to incorporate maps more into the process of managing the network and navigation. And we'll see that even more so as we go through. So you can get to the View Section screen from the main button up top or from the navigation on the left. And I wanted to just highlight a couple of other things before we move on. So the grid is just as powerful as you're accustomed to in the old app. You can pin and reorder the columns to suit exactly how you would like them to be. You do have column filtering as before. So if I wanted to get all my residentials, for example, I can filter quickly to that. You have the same grouping ability. I can grab a column header and I can dock it. And so now I have all of my roads filtered or grouped by functional class for quick organization. Let me remove my filter and we'll see I've got my arterials, I've got my collectors, and this is going to be tailored to you as the user. So you have your own individual login and you can set up the grid how you want, and those settings will be saved for you. So when you come back, it's your customized grid, the way that you like to see the data displayed. Okay, so that's the View Section screen and the section summary. I'm just going to highlight just so you can see the UI on Inspections module and M&R. There's not a lot of changes as far as functionality. Here's the Create Inspection screen. And of course, probably one change we did here is we put the section info at the bottom so that the inspection data is what the focus is. And it's all the same fields, and you can quickly come in and start. I just hit 2 and brought up block cracking, or you can select from the drop down. I can enter my quantity, hit tab, and it loads the next row for me. Do some weathering. And here's my percentage. So, and then it converts it to an area for me. So that's the Create Inspection screen. I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And now you'll notice one thing that happened. I saved and closed. It brought me to the View All Pending Inspections, which is great. That's a same screen that's in StreetSaver in the legacy app. But you'll notice now I've got a little notification. So anytime you have pending inspections or pending treatments, there's now a little badge or notification that'll show you that you've got some. And that'll be great for knowing when, like if you were going to do a budget needs run, do you want to get these pending inspections and treatments done before you do the budget needs. So here's the Create M&R screen, just moving on to maintenance. And again, it's really interesting. We've been doing some early access to the web app for some users, and we've brought some people over that have been using the web app. And I was on the phone with one of them trying to walk them through how to create an M&R, and they had created maintenance treatments just a ton of times in the legacy app. And because it was a new UI, it just was different to them, and they thought that we had added new fields and that there was some new process that had to happen in order to create an M&R. And it's really, I think that that's a good case study or example about how moving to the web app and a new UI can seem like there's a lot of change, but like an example, this is a great example. There's really no change for create M&R. It's your date, and it's still a green field, and you select your treatment. Let's say we're going to do a Cape seal, and these other fields are still optional. You don't have to put anything into them. You can just, I could hit save and close right now. One of the things we have done in the web app is often if you're here creating treatments and you're trying to find the treatment, you're like, oh, this is a new treatment that we've started using and it's not in the system yet. Well, in the old app, you would have had to go to table maintenance, right, and then go down to treatment description. Here, we've just added treatment description right on the screen, so I can pop it open and see all of my treatments, and I can add a new one if I need to. So we've done little things like that to make some changes, but the point is that this is still the same fields and the same functionality that you're accustomed to. It's just packaged or presented in a new way. So let's keep that in mind as we go. Now notice we don't have any information or any notification on our maintenance, but now once I save and close, now we've got our notification saying that we've got a pending notification as well. And of course, if we go to calculate from pending, where we want to calculate the PCI and move it to events history, the grid here is basically the same, where you're going to select it. You've got the same calculation options. They just look different, right? Instead of 3 radio buttons stacked on top of each other, we've got a toggle where we can do view PCI report only. That means that we're just going to see the report and we're not going to actually calculate the treatment and update the PCI. We can just update the section and not get the report, or I can click on update the section and get the report. So if I do that, I can calculate, and then I've got my report here letting me know that I was at a PCI of 76, and now with my new treatment, I'm up to an 84. Okay, so now I don't have any treatments left, and all I've got left is my pending inspection. So that's just a quick, look at the UI and what we have in inspections and maintenance. A lot of it's still the same, just laid out just a tiny bit differently. Okay, so now let's go. We're going to take a look at the GIS toolbox, and this is a place where we've done quite a bit of work in terms of adding new features, and I'm going to really focus on GIS reporting. GIS updates and section link are largely the same. One thing I would say is that on GIS section link, we did add some features where you can actually use Bing Maps on the section link. And I think that that's a good ability, because when you come down in here and you're looking at a particular area, being able to see the overlay of the aerial it can be very helpful in terms of identifying maybe begin and end locations, for example. But the section link is going to be largely the same. You're going to have the same selection tools, same approach as far as the link status, and also the same various data options. It's just the toolbar is a little bit different, and you have the navigation options as well. You do have all the same information that's available and whatnot. So this is the section link screen, and like I said, not a lot of functionality changes other than being able to use Bing on the screen, which is actually a great step up. So let's jump over to GIS reporting. Oh, that's right. I did a calculation, which that means it invalidated my needs run. So I'm going to run budget needs, and you can see budget needs is also the same fields, just laid out a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and do 10 years. And yes, I'm going to calculate even though I have pending inspection. Okay, so that's done. So now I can go back to GIS reporting. And here is the GIS reporting screen. It's a nice big map, and I want to go over a couple of changes on this screen and some of the things that are new that hopefully will be exciting for everybody. I know it's been exciting for us as a development team to be able to advance the GIS forward into some new technology. So one of the things you'll notice right off the bat is that our navigation bar is now here across the top. We don't have it down below the map. And you have all the same tools available to you. So we've got our navigation tools, line width, we've got our feature selection, and then we've got all the selection tools, filtering, and then our export options, which we'll go over. So the first thing I want to highlight is how much faster this particular map is. So let me load just all of our road network here. And in the old legacy app, when you were using GIS reporting, it was super powerful in terms of being able to query the pavement data and present various reports and features in map form. That's just a tremendous ability that StreetSaver offers, especially for analyzing the network and also preparing for presentations and that sort of thing. So that's great, but when you would move around, it was very difficult because the map was very slow. So I'm just panning here, and I'm showing you how responsive the map is in the web app. And if you ever zoomed in the legacy app, it was very slow in terms of the tiles painting on the screen, and it you know, inched along. So what we've done here is you hold down the control button, and you can scroll in and out, and it's very fast. As you can see, it's very responsive. In fact, I can go way out very fast. So that gives you an idea of just how fast and responsive it is. You've got some new tools to be able to zoom in and out here, a zoom bar and a pan and center. So those are all great. We're very excited about that. And hopefully you are too. I can't wait for you to get in here and use the map just because of that one improvement. It was a major pain point from the legacy version, so we're glad that that's advanced. Okay, so here are some new features on GIS reporting. I mentioned earlier that we were really working on making the web app more GIS-centric. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to current PCI, let it calculate that and update. And so here we have a current PCI map. And one of the things we did is we've made this map interactive. So not only is it faster and more responsive, it's also interactive. I can now use this to investigate and look at these sections. So if I'm looking in the middle here and I've got these 3 roads that are red, let's see, so 3rd Street, for example, I can right-click and I've got some options I can zoom to the section, I can load section summary, or I can do all of these section options, right? I can jump to view sections, edit section, look at the deterioration curve, create an M&R or inspections, and attach documents or photos, etc. So I can do everything I need to manage the management section right from here. When I say load the section summary, it's going to load that same information that we saw as the pop out from view sections or the section summary page, the full page view. It's going to load it in this little panel for me. So I've got my deterioration curve here. I've got all the section information, all that same history, projected treatments, and I can print that report from here. If I wanted, I know that I'm looking at those 3 roads. I can jump over to 4th Street and quickly examine that information. Look at the deterioration curve. We can see we've had some inspections here. The last one was not very good. And then I can also just jump over to 2nd Street and get that same vital stats and little dashboard for the section that I'm looking at. So when I'm looking at a map like this, we still have the same functionality down below here as far as the grid, being able to see the section data in grid form and all of that. But what we're really excited about is that because of the interactive map, you can really use this map to navigate your inventory. And it's set up to make that possible also because it's going to let us basically jump around and do different things on this, and we can come right back to the same map. So for example, let's say I know that these 3 roads have had some M&R. So I can go to create M&R, and it's loaded for 4th for me. And let's say that in February, I know that we did a reconstruct. Okay. So then I can save and close. I'm going to go ahead and go to calculate. I'm just going to update with this M&R. So then I can jump back to reporting. Of course, I've got to run budget needs because GIS reporting depends on budget needs. So anytime we do a calculation, we're going to be triggering that need to run budget needs. So now let me jump back to GIS reporting. And what we'll see is I've got that same map, the same configuration. I'm still on current PCI. I'm right back at the same extent that I was on. And I can now come in here, and if I were to load section summary, now we've got the updated information, right? So we just did our overlay back in February, and now we've got our new deterioration curve. So that gives you just an example of how this screen can be used as a navigation option. And then let me show you one other feature before we kind of close this. We added a new export. So now you can do a KML export. So the KML export's great because basically it lets you, let me share. I'm hoping you guys are able to see what's on my screen right now, which is the Google Earth. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. It says I'm sharing it, so I hope that that's the case. Let me close or minimize this. So what I did here is, actually, if anybody could respond in the chat and just say, yeah, I can see Google Earth, that would be great. That way we can know.
We have somebody that says they can see it.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Okay, so what I did is I did my current PCI map. I quickly exported it as a KML, and then I can come down here on 4th Street and bring it up. Gives me the current PCI data, and you can even go down, like, I'm going to come down to Street View. And this is great too, because you can export these KML files and send them out maybe with your inspectors or whatnot, and they can have it on their tablet and be looking at Google Earth while they're doing inspections on Mobile Radar, and et cetera. So just wanted to share that. So now I'm going to come back to the web app, and just to review, because this screen has probably the most changes in terms of new features. We've got the new faster responsive map. We've got the interactive map with section summary and navigation, where you can go and do your work and then come right back to the same map without having to set it all up again. And then the new KML export. So we're going to continue working on these things, and I think that you'll find that this screen is just an excellent improvement in the new web app. So I'm going to pause here, and I wanted to give an opportunity hand it back over to Jose so that he can show the new poll question and explain that a little bit. And Jose or Sui, I think you'll need to.
I have it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Jason. So yeah, like Jason mentioned, we have a nice and quick and easy little question for you guys. Only 2 answers. In the new web app, are you more likely to use either GIS map to manage and look at your sections, or the view sections? And guys, I did want to mention as well, I see your Q&A questions. Please keep throwing them out there to us. We will get to them at the end of the webinar. So the more of those questions we get, the better for you guys. I did want to let you guys know that you will be receiving the results for all these polls as well. I won't take too much time on this one since I know we're kind of against the clock, but please just take a second to go ahead and answer that question and let us know what you guys are looking for, what you guys are into. And just here shortly, I'll send it back to Jason. I know we covered a lot of stuff in this last segment, but like I mentioned, we will have a webinar recording sent to everyone a little bit after the webinar has concluded. So please be on the lookout for that email. Looks like what I was hoping for, GIS maps, that's what we made it for you guys. We want you guys to use the GIS map a little bit more. That's why we enhanced it the way we did. So again, thank you guys so much. Keep sending those questions in the Q&A. We will address those at the end of the webinar. And I'll go ahead and send it right back to Jason. Thank you guys so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Jose. And I did want to mention a couple of things here before we jump in, and I'm going to try and be time sensitive as much as possible. I know we're getting up to the end of our hour here pretty quick. So we do have in the new web app a lot of the same features that you're used to as far as getting support. So you can quickly pop open the Contact Us form, and it autofills your information for you, and all you have to do is select the reason you're contacting us. If it's a support ticket or an enhancement request, for example, put in a subject and then tell us what you want to hear about, and we'll usually be able to get back with you within 1 business day, if not sooner. And of course, we have our help guide available as well. And this is this icon in the upper right corner. You can basically click on it from any page, and it'll load the help data for that page and give you various information. We're going to be adding a lot of stuff here as far as FAQs and even some maybe some videos and whatnot. So we're really excited about this. And then we have an even newer feature for users who have a software support plan as part of their subscription. We have a chat with us. So I'm able to just jump in here, and I can enter my information, and I can say, I need to know how to open the help guide. And so our tech support staff gets notified of this, and right away here's Jose picking up for me, and he can then respond, and we have this new ability to be able to do real-time support, and he can let me know there. To access the help site, please click on the question mark in the upper right corner of the window. So that's great. It's a great feature. If nobody's available for a chat from the StreetSaver support staff, then you can basically submit your question, and it'll get turned into a support ticket and sent to us, and somebody will get back to you as soon as they're available. Again, that's available with the software support plan. So that's a great new feature in the web app. Okay, so we have just a few minutes here, so I'm gonna move kind of quickly. The view budget scenario, or the budgeting module, has a lot of the same functionality that you're used to as far as being able to view various scenarios. I'm going to go ahead and get some calculating here for me. And I selected my current funding, my maintain current PCI, and then I have one for increasing my PCI by 5 points. And you'll notice that I can lasso select there and get as many of those as I want. You have a lot of the same information in the background. What's calculated, what's current reporting, if it's a base budget, are there any projects included? And that's a button you can open up to get information on the project, for example. You also have the ability to duplicate the scenario, and you had that in the legacy app, but it was a little bit hidden. It was like a save as option. So if you know you're going to be you want a few different strategies tweaked a little bit, you can start your first one and then you can define it, or you can duplicate and then tweak it as needed. It's a great time saver. So you'll notice that we calculated, and one of the big differences on this screen is there's no quick results down here at the bottom like there are in the legacy app. We kind of wanted to take that to a whole nother level. So I have the button for the results here in the grid, or I can go to budget scenario results over here. And the reason we moved this out onto another page is because it gives us some really good functionality. So you can see that I have all the same information. I've got my budget amounts, my cost summary, the various percentages and condition category, and of course my projected PCI by year, and then my cost summary totals. But down below I've got all my detail grids, sections selected, not selected, projected PCI. So it's all that information that you're accustomed to, just laid out a little bit differently. So one of the reasons we did this is because now you can switch between, if you want to, here, and just go and look at the various results. But this allows us to leverage the browser tabbing. So if I wanted to, for example, I can duplicate my tab, and now I have the ability to kind of go side by side. So I've got my current funding on the right, and I've got my maintain current PCI on the left, and it really lets me do side by side comparisons. And of course you can do this with as many as you want to open up. If you want more real estate to show different numbers, you can hide the budget numbers. So here's an example of another quick navigation tool. A lot of times when you're looking at the data and you're like, okay, yes, this is what I wanted. I've examined the information and I'm ready for printing reports. You can just quickly click the reports button, and it takes you to the report screen with the budget analysis category selected, and you're right there with some of those scenario summary reports. So that's great. That's available also for the view target scenarios, and it basically lets you do a lot of analysis in a new way. The creation screen is very similar in terms of layout as far as steps and setting your information. The budget amounts, you can do the same where you want to do it by year or by base. And there's not a lot of change. There's really no change here on the edit screen other than just the layout. So that's, again, a great case of where it's similar and familiar. Okay, so we're just going to continue to move forward here and take a quick look at reports. And I'll highlight just a couple of items. We did add some new functionality on the reports. You can pick some themes. Of course, if you want, you can look at the default or standard layout, but you do have the option to pick some different themes, and then you can load that and you kind of see where you've added some splash, and there's a new color palette, some blue and orange, to differentiate things a little bit. This is great for presentations, and it's a nice theme. One creature comfort that's great on this screen is before, when you were printing up reports, like we did 3 scenarios, right? And you would have to go back to the view budget scenarios and change the current reporting scenario in order to print reports for another one. Well, here we have the current reporting scenario is my increase by 5 points, and I can just toggle it right here on this screen, and now I can start printing reports for those scenarios. So that's a great feature that lets us toggle it without having to go to another page. So it's a good time saver. Another time saver that we added in reporting is on the custom report tool. With the custom report tool, one of the things that you'd run into in the past is that as you're building your report, let's say I come in here and I want to do a current PCI report. That's great, got my remaining life. I clean up my table names and I jump to the end. So here's my data and I'm like, oh man, I don't like that. So I want to go back to my number, or my number formats, or I don't need that many decimals, for example. You used to have to go previous to go to the previous step. Well, now I can just jump right to field formats. And for my current PCI, I can do integer, and I can do just a general number for remaining service life. And then let's say, oh, I forgot, I also needed to add the street ID section ID. So I'm going to come down here to my street ID section ID. I want to clean up that table name. And then let's move it. Let's actually move it to the top. And then I jump back to finish. And now I've got a better presentation here. I've got a remaining service life with my 2 decimals, which is great. Current PCI is a whole number. And I've got street ID section ID. So the steps format is great because it allows you to jump to right where you need to. So that's a great little feature, navigation feature for custom reporting tool to make that an even better tool for you in your toolbox moving forward. So lastly, I'm just going to show our graphs, and I'm not going to save that report. So we've done quite a bit of work here on our data visualization tools in StreetSaver. So this is our budget scenarios graph, and right now I'm showing budget needs information, but let me go ahead and show you how to set this up. I'm not going to do budget needs. I'm going to do, say, my current funding report, and I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And so now I'm showing information for my current funding scenario, and I've got a mixed mode graph going on here where I've got column chart data and line chart data. So current funding does an okay job, I suppose, of maintaining the PCI. That's my line here across the top. And since I've only got one showing, I'm going to go ahead and set my line labels to visible. You notice there's lots of customization options here. And then I'm going to go and look at the deferred maintenance across the bottom. So what I see there is, while my PCI is not, my current funding is not really maintaining the PCI. I've dipped about 4 points. What's even worse is my deferred maintenance is skyrocketing. I'm going from 3.7 million to 7.3. Well, this is great for showing various funding strategies. In here, and I can pick, say, my maintain current PCI, and what I've got here is an attempt at maintaining it, and it does a decent job. I'm staying at 63, but I've got the same problem with my deferred maintenance. That funding strategy is not going to work. So then I can come in and then also add my increase PCI by 5 points, and now we've got something different. So I like to hide the line labels myself. It looks a little cleaner for me. So here we can see my increase PCI by 5 points is my orange one. And we've got a better situation here where my deferred is actually not growing too much. And in fact, by 2028, it's down. And my PCI is actually getting up to a 73. So this funding strategy is much more effective than my 5 points. It's actually, not much more, but it's getting me higher than the 5 points that I was going for. So that's just an example. You can fiddle with these graphs even to the point where if I didn't want to show my deferred, maybe I wanted to show the total maintenance cost. So that gives me a picture there as well. And then you can customize the labels, like if they're overlapping like that, you can do all kinds of things like tweaking where they're positioned and that sort of thing to help assist with it. Okay, so taking a look at these graphs, the main thing I want you to take away from it is that they're customizable. Before, with the graphs, you had to, they were pretty static and you kind of got basically what you see is what you get. With these graphs, you can toggle the various data. Like here's a condition category graph, and by functional class and lane miles. Well, I can change that. If I didn't want lane miles, I can change it to centerline miles. And I'm going to go ahead and select. And so now I've got my arterials, collectors, and residential local in the condition categories in each according to the number of centerline miles. I can change that to area, and I can even do remaining life as well. And you can toggle between area ID and surface type. Make some selections. And I can go back to centerline miles. If I wanted instead of number of miles, I can go to percentage of miles. The point is that you can customize these to show different data attributes that you're trying to present on. And you can see that we have many graphs over here. The possible combined graphs that you see just in this list is fairly large. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of graphs. And we're going to be adding more. So we have slated a condition category graph for scenarios and target-driven scenarios as well. Anyway, that gives you an idea of the great enhancements here for data visualization. And I know we're coming up here at the end, so Jose, I'm going to hand it over to you there as far as being able to do that final poll question, and then we'll do some closing comments in our Q&A. I know we're a little bit over, guys. It's a lot of content, so hopefully you can hang around with us a little bit so we can wrap this up.
And like you mentioned, thank you so much, Jason. Yeah, that was a lot of information, but you will be receiving a link to this exact webinar in that follow-up email. And this poll question that I have up here for you guys, this is kind of a little bit of a preview into some other services that we're working on, mainly the cloud services, and there will be some more information regarding this cloud services. I know at least one person mentioned something about this, so this is going to be an API, but I'll go ahead and leave that up for now. Like Jason mentioned, that does conclude the main portion of the webinar. We will move on to Q&A after this. So guys, if you do have any questions, please submit it in that chat box. Before I move it over to the Q&A, I did want to mention a few of our upcoming items as well. We have User Week coming up on November 4th, and that's going to be in Oakland. For that training, it's going to be a user week, so it will review essential skills, budgeting, as well as many other items. Really, guys, it's a great way to jumpstart someone into the program, or as a refresher even for StreetSaver features. We're going to be reviewing the web app during user week, so there's that as well. All of that information is going to be on our Academy page on our StreetSaver website. But like I mentioned, we'll go ahead and get started on that Q&A. I know we have tons of questions, so let's get started.
Okay, right before we jump into the Q&A, I want to go over a couple of things to expect for everybody moving forward with the web app rollout. And you know, it's not going to be a thing where on November 4th the web app is enabled for everybody. That's not how it's going to work, because we're going to be we have to have your team and your account migrated over to the web app with the new login set up. So you can expect basically how we're going to do that is starting November 4th, we will be in kind of systematically moving through the users, and we'll be migrating you guys over in groups. And what that looks like is we're going to contact you and say, hey, it's time to migrate you over to the web app. And remember, what that means is that all we're doing is migrating your login process and enabling the web app for you. You'll still be able to use the legacy app. Every user will have to migrate to that new email-based login method. So to help facilitate that, we're going to reach out to you multiple times and walk you through that process, kind of like as a concierge service, to just make sure you got your team set up and you're ready to go so everybody can log in. If we've reached out to you multiple times and we haven't gotten any response, there will come a point where we have to force the migration, so your account will be migrated over. And at that point, the credentials, your old credentials, won't work anymore. And if it gets to that point, you'd have to contact us so we can complete the process with you. So like I said, just to review, we're going to be migrating folks over in groups. And as a webinar attendee, you're going to be placed to the front of the line. So you guys will get the first crack at the web app starting November 4th. And you'll hear from us, and we'll reach out to you multiple times and walk you through that process. So that's what you can expect. And you know, you're going to have access to the Legacy app, which is great. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. We understand that many of you are familiar with and love the UI of the Legacy app. You've used it for many, many years, and we understand that change is difficult and sometimes entered into with resistance. Just because you like the old one so much. So having both versions available for a time will give you time to adjust to the new UI at a slower pace. You know, those excellent new features that we talked about will be really good incentive for you to start using it, but having access to both will make it easier, an easier transition, and it'll help give you guys time for your workflows to adapt to the new UI. In a way at a pace that will help ease potential problems that this change might cause. So, you know, keep that in mind. And then lastly, the new web app, what we're releasing is the pavement module. So non-pavement assets like signs and curb ramps, that'll be released in the coming month or two here. And so those folks that use those modules can still go into the Legacy app to manage their signs and curb ramps. So that's it as far as the closing comments. We're really excited about the launch of the web app. It's really a huge step forward in improving functionality and access. We value you guys. We value our users very deeply. And with this web app, we're really striving to support you as you do the very best job you can in managing your roads. So we want to thank you for partnering with us and letting us partner with you to accomplish that. That's kind of it as far as the closing remarks. So we're going to go ahead and transition over to the Q&A. And like I said, or we've said throughout, this is recorded. So if you need to go, please listen to that recording to get answers to your questions. Jose, are you there? I'll go ahead and pass the ball to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jason. So we do have a ton of questions, so let's get started. The first one that I like here is, we currently do have individual logins after the CD team login. Let me see here. Oh, no, does it require Flash? Okay,
no, the web app doesn't use Flash at all. So that won't be an issue at all. So that's an easy one.
And there's this one regarding the account creation. If a team lead member leaves the agency, can the lead be reassigned to another member of the team?
Absolutely. So yeah, if you have a new admin or contact person, primary account holder, we can transition the profile and the account over to that new person. So that won't be a problem. You just need to contact us and we can assist with that.
All right. Looks like we have another one here for you, Jason. Can you do group edits in GIS?
So there's no bulk update ability from GIS at this point. You're looking at managing sections individually. If you want to do bulk updates, you're going to look at some of those same tools like section import attributes. If you're talking about updating or importing treatment data or inspection data, the same Excel imports and XML imports, those are available in the web app. So all that same functionality is present.
All right, and I like this one, Jason. Does the web app have all of the functionality of the Legacy app, or are there certain things that we would still need to use the Legacy app for?
So the only thing that you'll still need the Legacy app for that I mentioned is if you're using traffic signs or curb ramps, and that's just a temporary state while those modules are continuing to be completed. Eventually they'll be in the web app as well, or parking lots for that matter. Those will be in the web app in short order here after the launch. So as far as we've really worked to keep all the same functionality that you depend on in the web app. What we've done is add new functionality. So.
All right, and kind of on the same token, how much setup is required on our users' end to integrate the StreetSaver web app to get the full functionality of the web app from the legacy app?
So the only setup that's required for the web app is going to be that process of migrating your team over to the web app login process. And for users who, if you, in the legacy app, you already have security turned on and you already have user profiles for your team set up, then it's really easy to make all of those work with the web app. All you have to do is go in and change the login to their email address and then send invite, and it'll use that same profile. So if you've already done that legwork ahead of time, the migration to the web app is much easier. If you've never used security and never set up individual profiles for your team members, then you're just, the only process is setting those up and sending them invites. As far as accessing the web app, there's no, it's not like the legacy app where you have to have Internet Explorer, maybe you have to have trusted sites added, or some special firewall things configured so that the remote desktop can connect. There's nothing like that with the web app. It's a straight up web application that's browser independent. So you can load it, you should be able to load Edge, you should be able to load Chrome and just log in and not have any issues. There's no pre-setup required. I will say it is browser independent. We focused on Chrome and Edge and Firefox. Every browser is different and consumes HTML and renders it a little bit differently. So keep that in mind. Internet Explorer can be used, but it's not recommended. The other more modern apps are much better for using the web app in.
All right, and let's do a few more here, Jason. Can we use the new GIS features to create a project selection for multiple years?
Right, so yeah, in fact, I'll just show that. That same functionality is available, which, like, let's say my 3rd and 2nd Street, what you see here, I'm going to use my selection tool. Give me just a second here. Hold on. Well, let me just show it to you this way. There is a create option, so whatever I have selected, there we go. So I can come in here and let's see if I'm selecting enough of this to get them selected. It doesn't look like I am, so I got to go a little further out. There we go. I just wasn't selecting the entire road. So now I've got my 3rd and 2nd Street selected. I can hit create project and bring that data over into the project selection in the same way that you can in the legacy app. So yes, you can use the map to be able to create project selections using this utility right here.
All right. And Jason, that's going to be the bulk of the questions. Guys, if we didn't address your question, please feel free to email into us. I know there's a few questions here that aren't web app related, but we still want to hear from you. We still want to answer your questions, so feel free to give us an email on those. But again, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, part of this webinar. We will have another webinar on the web app, and that's going to be on November 19th. But all of that information is going to be on that follow-up email, as well as a recording of today's webinar. But guys, I wanted to thank you guys so much. We're really excited to present this to you guys. We're really excited to roll it out and to get your feedback on it. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and please feel free to email us with any additional questions you guys may have.
Thank you.